Hey guys.
Hey everybody. How are you?
Well, I hope good. I
Yeah.
hope everybody's good.
Well, how are you, Frank?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a
Yeah.
nice little Christmas and everything.
It was Christmas.
What does that mean?
No, I'm just saying it was. That's
was.
exactly what it was.
Yeah, I said I had a nice one, and you just said it was just Christmas.
No, I'm just reminding everybody that the time of year
Oh,
is...
that it was Christmas.
It was Christmas.
Right, it was
Hooray!
Christmas. I thought you, because, well, Dan and I ended up spending Christmas together, and so
Yeah.
I just figured he was making a little dig on Christmas.
No.
It was just fun.
We had a great Christmas.
Yeah.
I think we may have started a tradition.
It was a pretty good one.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty
We did
good
some
one.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, Dan, I think we need to give a little shout out to the good people of Columbus, Ohio.
The inexplicable shout out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Columbus.
Hi, Columbus, Ohio. Our biggest market?
Our second
apparently?
biggest market.
Well, yeah.
We got lots of people here in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
Friends and family and friends of friends and family. I don't know that there's much friends and family, actually.
I don't think that there really is. I mean, I've talked to some people, and the people who I think would actually really like it haven't listened to it. But then there have been some really good surprises of people who've like just been like, oh yeah, I listen and I like it.
I've got one or two friends who are regular listeners. Most of my closest friends, however, don't. And that's fine with
And it's
me.
totly fine.
Yeah, they've heard our shtick. They know
yeah.
they know our stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to hear it again.
But yeah, we've got a really large listenership out there in Ohio.
Yeah, I want to know what's going right, Columbus. Like,
What, yeah, what did someone mention us on something, or what happened? You guys
Yeah,
need
no
to let us
kidding.
know.
Oh my
'cause
God. Well, it could just also be a large atheist population, is what I'm also thinking. I don't know. I'm saying, what is it?
I'm thinking somebody who's very, very popular has publicized us.
Must be. I'm fine with that. Thank
Yeah.
you, whoever you are.
We love you in Columbus, I guess. Have you ever been to Columbus?
I've never been to Columbus.
It's the capital, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know that because when I was in like third grade. I learned it all, and I was like, my mnemonic device for that was that Columbus came to America and said, "Oh, hi-oh."
God damn.
Hey, what? I was a third
that's
grader.
good.
It helped
That's
me
good.
remember it.
I know. Well, we were just talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of the season, I've got an interesting story.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, it's kind of an annual event that
Oh,
happens.
good. Well, Christmas is an annual event.
That is too.
But this is associated
But
with that.
apparently, it's not every year, but it happens frequently enough. There was the headline just says priest brawl in Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity. The priests brawl.
Yeah.
Because the Church of the Nativity is managed, so to speak, by two different groups.
Right.
There's the Greek Orthodox and there's the Armenian clerics of some kind.
The Greeks and the Armenians are...
Yeah. And
Wow.
they both have claim to it, and so they both run it together.
Wait, so we're not talking about, like, Israel and Palestine here.
And we're talking Christians.
That's so
Christian
weird.
on Christian action.
Well, it would have to be Christians. I mean, I guess because why would the Jews or the...
Nobody else cares.
Or the Islamists care about
the church
Islamists? Muslims.
Muslims, yeah.
What's an Islamist?
An Islamist is someone who believes in the political
ideologies
role of the Islamic
Muslims is the word I was looking for.
So, but anyways, Church of the Nativity. The Church of the Nativity is where, of course, this is where Christians believe Christ was born.
Right.
Right. Well,
Or
okay, here's a
someplace.
quote. Here's a quote from Bethlehem Police Lieutenant Colonel Khalid Al-Tamimi. He says, "It was a trivial problem that occurs every year. No one was arrested because all those involved were men of God."
What?
I mean, I love that.
It's state-sanctioned fighting
Well, it's
because
not-
they're church people.
probably not officially, but it happens every year.
I want to go to this event.
or almost every year. He says it happens every year.
I will go to this event, and if it's not happening, I will egg them on until it happens.
Well, I saw video footage of it too.
Yeah?
They had like brooms. They were in the midst of cleaning because what they're doing is they're getting ready for Orthodox Christmas, which is on January 7th.
Oh.
And so they're still like getting ready for Christmas. And so they were like sweeping and
the Greeks
whatnot. The Greeks and the Armenians.
They're all Orthodox. Of course they are.
Yeah. And so they're cleaning, blah, 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 blah. And they have like a turf war thing going on here. They actually disagree about whose responsibilities are what and which parts of the church belong to whom.
So this wasn't for their Christmas.
No, it's not like a show or anything. It wasn't.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that like it's not like things come to a head on the day of.
No, I think they get it. I think they get their acting gear before then. But apparently, the church is in a really bad state of repair, largely because the priests cannot agree on who should pay for the keep up or the upkeep.
Nice. What? Wait. So who owns it?
They both do.
Oh, people.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You can't do it that way. I know it sounds good, but a church, a place cannot be servant of two masters. It just doesn't work.
No, we know this from the Bible. There's a whole, Anyways, and this apparently also is not the only church in the region that similar things happen.
Right.
There's also the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is the site where many Christians believe Jesus was crucified. They also have similar incidents of groups who kind of cooperate, not cooperating.
No, right.
So,
how, can we just learn to share?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, these are men of God.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
like these are priests. They're one of the most holy sites in all of the Christian world.
Well, and isn't the whole ethos of Christianity supposed to be, if you don't want to do the upkeep, I'll just step in and do it?
Yeah.
Isn't that like the theory behind the whole thing? Is just like, if there's a need, you fill it.
Sure. Well, and also, I mean, Christ usually fills in the blank. So
you know what? It's his job.
It's his birth, people.
Wait.
It's his church.
Here's what you got. You've got an all-powerful guy. You got a bunch of people who are trying to worship the guy and trying to be nice about it and trying to like make his place look nice. If he's all-powerful, fucking clean your own shit.
Yeah. Pick up after yourself, Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay. All right. What do you have, Dan?
Oh, I like this guy. There's a guy named Chris Stedman. I don't frequent the Huffington Post because I don't like my news organization to be slanted one way or another. Mm-hmm. So I also don't go to Fox News or whatever. But on the Huffington Post, I found this thing. It was the problem with atheist activism. It's a guy named Chris Stedman, and he basically takes us to task. And he's an atheist. He's an atheist activist or activist. Activist. I can't make those two words squish together. Okay. So
he takes all of atheism. Atheismdom?
No, mostly atheist activism to task.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess are we activists? I mean, we're doing this podcast. It kind of makes us activists, doesn't it?
I suppose so.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of myself as an atheist activist, although I have become, even since, just with these few episodes, I've already, noticed that I'm a lot more outspoken.
Right. Yeah.
To all sorts of different people.
Yeah.
So that's... So
we're
definitely well on our way. If we're not already, we're well on our way.
I'm going to go ahead and pronounce us activists. I don't know that we're like marching in the streets, but I don't know that we wouldn't march in the streets if there was a march to be had.
Well, I know what I would do.
What was that?
I would get in a fight with some priests in a church.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Like, I would go to Jerusalem, and I would pick up a broom because that's what they were wielding.
All right, people, send enough money so that we can send Frank to Jerusalem to get in a fight with some priests.
Nobody got all that hurt.
Get in there with the brooms. All right, so anyway, what he's saying is, and we've discussed this when we talk about like how atheist signs miss the mark a lot of the time and stuff. he referenced the Daily Show, which talked about apparently the American Atheists, which is a really big organization, as atheist organizations go. It's obviously not the Catholic Church or anything, but it's a big organization. And they were protesting. There was do you remember this? The World Trade Center had there was a piece of rubble that ended up being in the shape of a cross, and they put it in the World Trade Center Memorial Museum, and the American Atheists put out this statement that was so asinine. Should I read the statement?
Yeah.
It just basically said, the WTC cross has become a Christian icon. It has been blessed by so-called holy men and presented as a reminder that their God, who couldn't be bothered to stop Muslim terrorists or prevent 3,000 people from being killed in his name, cared only enough to bestow upon us some rubble that resembles a cross. And then, of course, Jon Stewart added, and as president of the American Atheist Organization, I promise to make sure that everyone, even those that are indifferent to our cause, will fucking hate us.
Yeah.
Which, of course, that's exactly it.
I don't like that kind of
what the hell is
tactic.
your goal there?
And not everything is an educational opportunity. And everything's not a learning moment for everybody.
No.
And that's one where, I'm sorry, you are just, if you're a believer and you're hearing that, you're not all of a sudden having a light bulb go on in your head and go, oh, those atheists are right.
You're right.
No,
There's no
even further
awareness moment
toward
there.
your belief.
Well, not only that, but
it's just I think atheists need a good PR man.
Well, it's not just that atheists need a good PR man. It's the fact that we have to acknowledge that though this isn't your experience or my experience, a lot of atheists are that stereotypical thought of atheists, which is angry.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. People get hurt by churches. People get very, very hurt, and they are dealt with very, very badly and treated very badly.
Yeah.
And I think that it's reasonable to be angry about that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. However,
you got to get over it, though.
I think when you're president of an entire organization of atheists and you're making incendiary and needlessly, over the top statements about something that's not to do with you,
right?
Who the fuck cares? They found a piece of rubble. They liked the shape. They bless it.
Right.
Doesn't do anything to you.
Why not? Why not American atheists get together and send a trinket, a thing? They have a thing, and they say, "We feel your pain. We're with you. Here's a thing," and they just simply it's a thing. It's an emblem of their solidarity. Instead of something like that,
or they craft their own message and have that put in there.
That's what I'm saying. They send something that is symbolic of them and of their sense of community and whatnot. And you're going to win over people's, at least their respect. But right now, this kind of stuff means it just leads people to not respect atheists and to have a lot of ammunition against atheists as a whole.
Right. Well, what it does is invites people to dismiss us, and it's fine. Everybody gets to say whatever they want.
Sure.
But if you're an atheist, if you're an activist, if you have specific goals with your language, what possible goal could he be achieving with that language?
Pissing people off.
Does that help anything?
No. They're going after the wrong people. If somebody at a church or some specific church actually pissed them off, actually hurt them, right? Then they need to be going after those specific people.
Not only that,
if you feel the need for some kind of revenge or some sort of retaliation against belief and believers, be specific.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Don't get all general and just start spewing your venom randomly at whomever
and Mr. Stedman,
happens to be a
Stedman
believer.
Does go into that. He actually lists a series of people writing things about Islam, like atheists writing stuff about Islam that's non-specific. A bunch of things about, come on, Islam, it's bad enough to be the religion of hate, but to be the religion of cowardice ought to leave you feeling ashamed. Somebody put that on their thing. And it's just well, that's not constructive.
No.
You haven't helped anything.
No.
The fact of the matter is that as long as we don't, I mean, what it does is it dilutes our actual griefs, our grievances.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to get outraged about God in schools, which is a very valid thing to be outraged about, and which is something which is a battle we need to be fighting.
Absolutely.
Well,
getting onto school boards and so forth.
That sort of thing.
Yep.
But if we're going to fight those battles, what we don't need is for everyone else to be able to already have dismissed us based on stupid battles that we fought that weren't worth anything.
They weren't worth it. Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. But there are battles to be fought, and I thought I'd just segue right into my friend's experience.
Yeah, sure.
Which is something that I was blown away by.
Yeah.
Blown away by this.
Yeah.
This was a friend of mine who I knew from here in Salt Lake City. We didn't know each other tremendously well, but he's a nice guy. I see him at parties and whatever. Mm-hmm. He goes out. He lives in Iowa now, the heartwestern, if you will, Franklin. Mm-hmm. And so he's out there, and those Midwesterners. Is that Midwest?
Sure.
Yeah,
Ohio,
Iowa,
very Midwestern.
Right.
Yes.
They're known for their niceness.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. No, their
hospitality. Well, I guess that's Southerners that are known for their hospitality.
Yeah, I don't know what Iowans are known for.
Corn.
Their reasonableness, for
yes,
crying out loud.
absolutely.
They allow gay marriage.
Right.
They're in the heartland. They're in the heartland. You can call them the heartland.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, he moved out there, took a job out there, and he had this semi-nice relationship. He would go to this like convenience store gas station place every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And he had been building up a rapport with the lady who checked him out at the gas station. And she had been angry because, do you remember a month or two ago, about a month ago, maybe more, because I have no concept of time, there was that whole, the Congress got all up in arms about reaffirming the "In God We Trust."
Yeah.
And
a total waste of time.
Yeah.
You mean that one?
Total waste of time.
Yeah.
And so this lady was talking to my friend and was saying how upset she was because Congress had lots of actually important things to be dealing with at that moment.
Yeah.
And we're wasting their time with affirming something that was already law.
Very good point.
Right. He says, even as an atheist, I don't have a problem with that being the motto, but why waste the time?
Right.
Nice.
Also reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me personally, I have a problem with that being the motto, but fine. The whole.
Well, yeah, in my heart of hearts, but it's a reasonable stance to take when you're having a conversation with someone whose belief system you don't really maybe fully know or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, she looks at him and says, "You're an atheist?" And he says, "Yes." And she said, and I'm going to quote here, "That's awful. That's awful. You're terrible."
What?
She then turned and walked away and refused to ring him up. Wouldn't go anywhere near the guy.
But he'd already filled up his car?
He'd already filled up. He just had to pay. Okay. She wouldn't help him out. He had to eventually the owner, who's a Sikh, had to come out and ring him up.
Oh my God.
Because she wouldn't ring him up. And then it wasn't just that. So he turns around at the rest of the people behind him in line to get this you believe this crap sort of thing. And they're all staring at him like he's Satan. They're all looking at him like he's the devil.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then finally the guy rings him up, and he says, and he's just so he's finally gonna leave. He's on his way out to his car, and some dude in line behind him follows him to his car, saying, "Why do you hate Jesus? Why do you hate Jesus? Why do you hate Jesus?" And he's like, I don't hate Jesus. Why do you hate Jesus?
That wasn't about Jesus.
No.
Because there was a Sikh behind the counter. Sikhs don't believe in Jesus.
Right.
Why they're fine buying gas from somebody who doesn't believe in Jesus. They're fine with dealing with somebody who doesn't.
But a white guy.
Well, it's really just about God.
Well, no, my thought
is not believing.
I mean, if my friend had Sikh clothing on, if he had a big beard and a turban,
then he'd believe in God.
Or but I'm saying if he was brown, if they assumed that if he was Asian, and he said, "Oh, I'm not Christian,"
You think?
they would be fine with it.
You think?
But he's supposed to be Christian because he's white and American. I think that's part of it.
It wasn't the atheism that kind of got them going. In
Oh,
the
it
first
was.
place?
Oh, it was.
I mean,
But someone who's Buddhist is technically atheist-ish.
ish, depending.
But because they have a thing that they call a religion, and because they're brown,
It's disturbing.
the whole thing is just
story.
really disturbing. Like, what country is this?
Yeah, that's. It's weird though. Like I have to say, I remember like when I was first exploring my atheism, I went to the public library, and I did the whole like, I knew what numbers I was following, right? Because I wanted to get some stuff to read, and I was like looking over my shoulder, who's watching me check out, an atheist book,
Right.
And so, I mean, I get it. Turns out I was in Salt Lake and didn't have to worry about that at all because Salt Lakers are at least typically reasonable. That's just surprising.
Or at least their non-reasonableness is hidden.
Well,
Or
okay, right.
They outright refuse to make it public.
Right. Exactly.
But they'll talk
be
about
polite.
it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're polite.
They'll be polite to your face.
Well, not necessarily though. Actually,
think so?
the only time that I've ever encountered blatant anti-atheist stuff was when people thinking they're being polite were actually being real dicks.
Okay.
But they thought that they were being okay.
But see, coming from ignorance is totally different than coming from ignorance and being potentially violent. about
Outwardly mean and just
because
just
that's
awful.
threatening. That's really, really threatening for somebody to follow you like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why
do you hate Jesus? Why do you hate Jesus?
Yeah.
I'm going to punch you.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's horrible. Oh my God.
He did not say that he was going to punch him, by the way. I added that.
Right. But dude following you, repeatedly saying something like that,
Yeah.
I think your mind goes one place.
Yeah.
It's threatening.
Honestly,
it's very, very, very threatening.
The whole thing is actually genuinely alarming.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, can I lighten the mood a little?
Why don't you, please?
Yeah, okay.
Give us something to laugh at.
This is surprisingly, and I'm accepting that this is for real. Okay, just because of where it's from. It's another one of these where I have to keep double checking to make sure that it's legitimately on a real news site, and that news site hasn't also opened a comedy section or something.
Right.
This is from the Daily Mail.
In that fair burg of London.
Yeah. So the headline says, "No jokes about holy socks, please. Image of Jesus Christ miraculously appears amid laundry."
Oh, so they're proclaiming it a miracle.
Well, I don't know if anybody at an organization that has the authority, so to speak, to call something a miracle has called it a miracle. But the people who are involved,
the Mail is calling it.
The Mail is saying that
that's good journalism.
A miracle. But then, you read it, and it's okay, so there's this woman, Sarah Crane, says she was stunned when she hung her laundry out to dry and discovered the face of Jesus staring back at her from a crumpled sock.
Okay, wait. Let me take a look at this. You've got a picture of her.
Yeah,
right
this
here.
is
I'm gonna
worth.
Look at
this
this
is worth looking up, people, because it looks like the Shroud of Turin. Looks like the face in the Shroud of Turin.
I don't see that as being any more Jesus than it is Buddy Hackett. I don't who. How can you possibly see?
Well, it's a face.
It's just a face.
It's a face. Yeah.
And it's not really a face. I mean, okay. So here's the thing.
But so is the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin's just a face.
No, the Shroud of Turin's a whole body.
Well, that's right. But I mean, yes, you're right. But the face
and
itself,
it's got a beard and
it doesn't
everything.
necessarily. I think you could argue that has a beard. At least a goatee, There's a little fine line of that. If he'd shaved his beard, those beards would have the line that goes just along the chin, or the
Oh
cheek,
my God,
the jawbone, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly, the
And
truth
his
of the
eyes
matter
are
is
closed, like on the Shroud of Turin. Look at that. It's very faith promoting.
I think so.
You had a comment, though?
Well, okay, so we know from psychological testing that our brains are wired to seek order from chaos and to make human faces where we can make them.
Absolutely.
Which is why we see faces in clouds and why we think we see human beings when we look sort of into a dark forest and there isn't somebody there, but enough of an outline has been created by whatever that we see a human.
Right.
Like, we're just wired to look for faces.
We're really good at it, yes.
So, but you add religion to that and suddenly we're wired to look for Jesus and or Mary.
If it's a masculine face.
Right. If it's a masculine face, it's Jesus. If it's... Did you ever go and look at the Mary tree here in Salt Lake City?
I've never actually gone up the steps.
Oh, well, there's nothing to see anymore.
Right.
But I went there when there was something to see. Because what happened was somebody saw what they were sure was Mary in a cut off limb.
Was she weeping from the sap?
Well, unfortunately, and I did discuss this a little bit one time on thankgodimatheist.com, the blog. It was basically a very common thing that you see in nature, which is a sort of, but has been turned into. It was just an outline that could be interpreted as a woman with like a cloak or a veil sort of thing.
Well, it was kind of in
there was no face really
of like if you'd cast a shadow from one of those sort of Mary statues, right, where she has like a veil over her,
right? Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's just like because that's what I always understood it to be.
Yeah, the truth is, if you go to Thank God I'm Atheist and you look at maybe do a search for Mary in the search bar. You'll see that you'll see my little thing about it, and
maybe you should post it up.
Oh, okay.
So people can just see it if they want to.
Well, there's a very sort of. I did an artist's rendering of what it used to look like, and that artist's rendering basically is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life, but that's okay. But anyway,
okay.
And then you can see what it looks like now, which is basically terrible. It was vandalized. At first, it was vandalized a little bit. And so when you say did it look like she was weeping from the sap? It did look like that, except that it was coming out of her neck.
Oh, her neck was crying.
It looked like she had been shotgunned in the neck.
Or she had a sad neck.
She had a sad neck.
Her neck was sad, Dan.
And lo, the Virgin did weep from her neck.
Oh, God.
And then they tried to make it into a different Virgin and into a different picture. Like now they've tried to make it into something else. Anyway... But yeah, it's gone.
Shrine there and everything.
Yeah, there's a huge shrine and there's candles and all the Mexicans are really into it, and that's basically all of the people who are into it in Salt Lake. But that's okay.
Yeah, well, it's the Lady of the Guadalupe of Salt Lake,
right?
But Mary in a tree.
But I mean, the whole thing is just like there's an industry. That's part of the deal is that there's an actual industry now for this sort of shit.
Well, I can buy the candles at the supermarket for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know,
the Holy Santos.
Yes. There's really nothing else that we need to talk about in this story. I just really love.
What we need to talk about is the fact that we can't tell if it's real or if it's a joke. It's Poe's law.
Yeah.
Well, which I didn't actually. I only came across the concept of Poe's law just recently. You'd think I'd know all of the things. But I don't know all.
I usually think that you know everything, Dan.
You should probably generally assume that, but there are certain things.
If I ever have a question about anything, I just call Dan.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Anything.
And if I have a question about anything, I call Frank and say, "Hey, what would I say about this?" Oh, Frank, don't be silly. Frank's gone into his little pissy place for a minute.
Yeah, I'm so upset.
Yeah. Right no. Anyway,
before we get to Poe's law, can I just
we're not,
just mention just a couple more things?
Oh, please do.
Just from this story, real quick, because I know once we get into Poe's law, we're not going to get back to this.
Yeah.
Just at the just sort of the boilerplate at the bottom of this article,
right,
says the face of Jesus has previously been spotted on a drain pipe, in a burned frying pan, and even on an ultrasound scan in 2006. The Messiah's image was also spotted on Google Earth in a field in Hungary.
Oh, yay!
I mean that's what this was about.
An ultrasound scan?
I hadn't heard about that one.
My baby has the face of Jesus?
Yeah.
Or is it an ultrasound scan of like testicular cancer or something?
I have no clue. It just says an ultrasound scan.
Well, it just goes to show that Jesus, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Poe's Law is basically, it was apparently, it's named after a guy named Nathan Poe, who basically asserted that unless the author is absolutely clear in their intent, you cannot tell the difference between religious truth, like reporting on religion, and religious satire.
Right.
Which I had to think about for a minute. Like I had to could that possibly be true? But like when you're talking, especially when you're talking in terms of fundamentalism, there is nothing that I can say as a parody or as a satire that goes far enough that we couldn't believe that it was real.
This story could just as easily have been on The Onion.
Yeah.
And while The Onion would have punched it up just a little bit more than
this.
that's
true.
A lot of like these quotes, but we think it's a sign. But for what? We don't know. Like that is straight out of The Onion, right? Like,
well, I mean, and let's be fair that The Onion does skate fairly close to the line on their satire to the point where my father-in-law once did bring me an Onion article as proof of what wasteful spenders the liberals are in this country. He had an Onion article that was about liberals building a $2 billion monument to wasteful spending.
Right.
Which he had taken to be true.
So what we have going on here is Poe's Law. He found a piece of satire that he believed that he mistook to be real.
Right.
That he mistook to be a real story. The corollary of that is the inverse of that is this article, which is a real thing which is indistinguishable from fundamentalism. It's
amazing.
Yeah.
I honestly, the truth of the matter is, I don't know how we could possibly. Yeah, you can't go far enough to make it seem like it's wrong.
No, because there's wackiness. We're going to be getting to some more wackiness in a minute, actually. So I'll save that.
Fundamentalists.
But yeah, the truth is stranger than fiction. You know, I mean, it's that.
Or
whole
at
thing.
least on par with fiction.
Or at least
in terms of strangeness and comedy.
Well, let's move along.
We have something exciting.
Yes.
Another thing has happened, Franklin.
We have a listener interacting with us.
We have another listener interactor. But you know what? What's exciting about this? This isn't even from our country.
This one is not from our country. So let's just go ahead and play the voicemail that we received the other day. And he does all of his own introductions, so there's no need to really do them for him.
Yeah,
so
well done.
We'll just play it.
Hello, guys. My name is Jason Carter. I'm a Peace Corps volunteer serving in the country of Panama. I live in an indigenous area called the Comarca Nove Google. Anyway, I am calling because I was wondering what you guys think when you tell people you're an atheist and the response is, oh, that's just a phase. That's happened to me quite a few times when I told my family. I've also told a couple of people where I work, but not a whole lot because everybody here is really, really Christian. But anyway, when I told people, they always tell me that it's just a phase. I was wondering what you guys think about that, if you've had that experience. Thanks very much. I like the podcast very much. Bye.
All right. Just a phase.
Jason Carter.
From Panama.
Thank you, Jason.
From somewhere in the U.S., but currently in Panama.
Yeah. Which means you probably had to pay some sort of fee to call.
He could have Skyped.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. What do you think? Just a phase.
Well, here's the thing. I am guilty of this.
Of what?
When I was a religious teenager, I had a friend who left religion, and I told him it was just a phase. I did this.
Wow. You're guilty of this.
I am guilty of this.
Yeah.
So to all of you, to everyone out there, Jason included, I'm sorry. But the truth of the matter is that I get it. I mean, I get where it's coming from. It's this, first of all, I think, as most atheists have experienced, when you say to someone who's a believer that you're atheist, you see a mild bit of terror in a lot of some people's eyes.
They don't even know what to make of it.
Well, it's not even that they don't know what to make of it. My take on it is this. I think a lot of people, when they find out you're an atheist, especially if you were raised in a religion, they believe that it's threatening to their faith. Somehow, on some level,
Right.
they're worried. I mean, it's not like they're thinking about this like clearly, but but it means that someone who believed as they believe has left.
Right.
It's a threat.
But I really think that it's working on the level that if they've never encountered an atheist before,
Yeah.
which is very, very possible.
Yeah,
In fact, very likely.
Absolutely.
Or at least that they knew who was atheist, of course. It's like the first time a white person who grew up in an all-white community sees a black person. It's the same thing as somebody who's never seen two men holding hands walking down the street. The first time they see that, they know that black people are out there. They know that gay people are out there. They know that atheists are out there. But it's their first experience, and in that moment, I think what you're seeing in their eyes is this. They have so much racing through their mind. They have this doubt. They don't believe you, first of all, because how could you not believe in God? It's so ingrained.
Right.
So they're just like, they're like, why are you mad at church? Why are you mad at God? Why are you mad at, who are you angry at?
Right.
They think that
What happened?
there's some part of you.
Did something
that
happen? Did you have some event? Did someone
Exactly.
Did someone diddle you?
Yes. I mean, no, I wasn't answering that question. That's,
Diddling is not funny, people.
no, it's not.
I'm sorry.
So I think there's that. I think you might be right. There's a little bit of kind of like this, this initial reaction of fear of being threatened by your non-belief, about what you might say next.
Right.
But
it's also well, if this person can have believed, can have been where I am, and then moved on to something else.
something must have happened.
Well, I'm thinking, what does that mean about my belief?
Oh, how fragile is my own belief?
Right. What does that mean for me? And I think what it does is it puts in their face the possibility that what they believe might not be true.
So they need to believe something like it's just a phase.
Yeah.
You'll come back.
Right.
Belief is so powerful that you'll come back.
It's like our caller last week, where the idea is, well, they like to sin for now, and that's very attractive, and I understand that the desire to sin is very big, so for a while they're just going to do that, and we have, there's nothing I can do about that, but eventually they'll figure out that what they're doing is wrong, and they'll come back to Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I personally, I know it definitely feels a little insulting when somebody says something so dismissive.
Oh, it's utterly insulting.
But what I like about that dismissiveness is that it makes me want to prove my atheism a little bit more. It might make me read a book. It might make me read an article. It might make me just kind of figure out a little bit more about my worldview.
Well, it's true
so,
that atheism doesn't have...
If there's offensive people out in the world, I'll take it.
Yeah.
It makes me stronger.
True, but it doesn't make it feel any better when someone actually says something like that. That's such... and what's funny is that's almost worse than hearing that you're terrible and you're horrible.
Right.
Because it's like from people you love who are refusing to hear you. Mm-hmm. When you say, this is where I'm at. Mm-hmm. They're refusing to go there with you.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I like to do in those moments?
What's that?
I like to just remind myself that I'm smarter than that person.
Oh my God.
No, I don't actually do that.
No.
But because then you become an American atheist.
Right. I think that Jason's point is, I think that's just a tricky thing, but it's something we're just going to be dealing with. Mm-hmm. We as atheists are just going to be dealing with it because everyone is so right about their point of view.
Absolutely.
Everyone is so smart about their point of view. And atheists are just as snooty about this shit as everybody else is.
Absolutely.
So it's not like, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, the same thing happens with a lot of gay people when they come out of the closet to their family.
Hells yeah.
You get the phase thing all the time. The truth of the matter is that all you can do is just stick to your guns, and eventually they'll just break down and be like, oh, crap, the dude's an atheist.
Go have your summer of gay. So, you know, I did that when I came out.
Yeah.
I had my big, I had some orange clam diggers, and let's see, what else did I oh my God, it was absurd. I went gay for the whole summer.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, but this isn't me. This isn't who I am. I'm gay, but I don't dress like a nitwit.
Right.
So
let's not insult all the bad dressers out there. Well, I guess we can. You dress badly,
so it's the same thing. Go have your summer of atheism. Go have your summer of no God, and experience everything that atheism has to offer.
Right.
It's not quite the same.
And just understand that people aren't going to get it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I think that again, the key to this moment, and I would say especially with your new friends in the Peace Corps, Jason.
Surely there's some atheists in the Peace Corps.
Well, Jason may be it in his little area in Panama.
Might be, yeah.
Because the Peace Corps does draw a lot of religious folks.
Does it?
I think so, doesn't it?
I thought it was always like the young, smarty types who are committed to doing good in the world, but don't have necessarily an outlet for doing good in the world.
That's
like they're not
true.
going to do
You'd
like
think
a
that
Christian mission.
The Christians
to...
would find their own missions and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Else,
they're going to
so
build
that they can help
churches
people
in
by
Mexico or whatever,
giving people Haitians Bibles instead of helping them with real things.
I mean, my friend Jamie, she did. I guess it wasn't the Peace Corps, but she did something that was. She built houses in Panama.
Oh,
and for
Jason,
like
you
a
should
few
meet
weeks.
Jamie. She's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, and she's an atheist.
And she's an atheist.
And she's always looking for a new guy.
No, okay, but here's so I'm sorry that you're trapped in your indigenous town of. Did you understand any of what he said?
I understood Panama.
Yeah. Anyway, while you're there, I would encourage you, and maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe you need to go along to get along out there. You just need to keep your mouth shut. But I think the way to counter the whole "it's a phase" thing is to be willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in anybody's face about it. You don't want to be. I mean, I frequently am, but that's usually with people that I don't have to deal with very much.
Right.
But
Just get along.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's healthy and smart to be willing to talk about it and to have interesting conversations that aren't my way is better, your way is worse.
Right.
And don't allow that into the conversation if they try to bring that in.
Right.
Just talk about who you are, how you came to your system of beliefs or your disbelief, and what it means to you.
Yeah.
Bear your testimony, my friend.
Yes, indeed.
It's okay.
It's okay. Well, if you would like to join the conversation like Jason did, please feel free to leave us a voicemail at 424-666-TGIA. That's 424-666-8442. And of course, there are conversations not as vibrant, not as, but yes, nonetheless. If you go to Twitter, you can follow us at TGI Atheist, and our email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to take a quick little break, and on our way out, we're going to listen to something horrifying.
Yes, indeed.
This is audio from Kim Jong-il's funeral procession.
Either that or it's audio.
Actually, this isn't from the procession. This is... Yeah.
Or it could be from a haunted house. You don't know. So, wasn't that something? All that hollering and wailing.
My goodness. Did you get to see any of it?
Nope.
Well,
But it sounds like there was some gnashing of teeth and some tearing of hair.
yeah, we'll be sure to put some links up on the website about, that kind of stuff.
Oh, we should. I haven't done anything on the website. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I think it should be, we should,
we should be dumping stuff on
let's, just refer people to links to some of the stories of stuff that we talk about in the show. And if there's things like this, believe me, I wish that I had been able to find, the stuff that I was watching last night. I tried to record the audio last night, but I was having problems with my computer when it was streaming live from the procession itself.
Oh.
And it was just horrifying. It was really, this is not hyperbole. I was at one of my most disturbed places I've ever been in my life.
What was it?
My perspective had to do with watching the people, and my heart really went out to the people. The show, the brain level of brainwashing that would have to lead to them giving a performance that sounded basically like this one, with just people just shaking and convulsing in mass hysteria, just histrionics. It was so big and ridiculous. And whenever the camera would get close to them, they knew exactly what they were supposed to do, and they just got into it. And men, women, children, the children were particularly sad.
Well, of course they were. They were terrified.
No,
every adult around them was freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you do that to a kid?
Oh, that's brainwashing.
Well,
it's the 2 minute. What is it in 1984? The 2 minute scream, the 2 minute yell. What is it?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Every day they have to do they have to yell at all the images that the regime currently wants you to feel strongly about.
Right.
And so
it's what's amazing.
It's 1984 in that country.
Well, what's amazing is that you play that audio, and all I can think about is videos that I've seen of congregations. Like Pentecostals / whatever kinds of congregations here in the U.S. Who go through these group dynamics of really intense emotions and like everything from literally I've seen video of a pastor leading everyone in laughter, and they are going nutso
in
laughing.
Laughter.
Yeah, and he'll wave his hands over one part of the audience, and they'll just break up laughing like. It's this amazing psychological experiment, and it's really cool. And then, of course, the same thing happens when, if they start to cry, if it's something really horrible, then, you see everyone just convulsing throughout the entire congregation.
Right.
And, I defy anyone to say that that something real isn't happening there.
Well, there's group dynamics.
Right. Well, see, this is the point. The point is that
mob mentalities and whatnot,
The point is that for every Pentecostal who says, "Do you see what happens in our services? How can you deny that that's the Holy Spirit?" I will say, look at what happened at Kim Jong-il's funeral.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. Like it's a group experiencing something and reinforcing each other's experience to the point where it gets this feedback loop of crazy.
And not that I want people to be drawing this parallel, or making this connection, I guess is more what I want to say. But I'm sure plenty of people are going to be making this connection. These funeral services, there's nothing about God going on here. These are just people who've been worked up into a lather because obviously it's a communist regime. Right. It's an atheist regime.
Except that he was treated
he's
essentially
revered
as a god.
Yeah.
So
he sets himself up as the god of the
right.
I mean, it makes you. I mean, like when watching it also led me to this thought, which is how bizarre that this happens in the modern era. How bizarre that this can be happening in the world today. But in a way, how in the long term, it's actually a good thing that there's cameras and tape rolling. because this is the kind of thing that I'm sure happened on different scales throughout the world for millennia.
Yeah.
As evil, I won't even say evil, as dictators, which are evil. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't, who knows?
What's evil? But anyways, but as dictators, as monarchs, as whoever had total control over a people and a country, we had members of the Chinese dynasty having thousands of people buried with them, right? All their servants, right?
Right.
We had pharaohs who had very similar sort of things where their personal servants would be entombed with them. And they weren't waiting for these people to die.
No.
Right.
No, they were enforcing that.
There's some bad shit that has happened on this planet through the ages. And now we're at a point where thanks to the Enlightenment and whatnot, we've reached a place in the West where we're very far from that kind of history.
Right. And not only that, but like the whole world, not just the West, the whole world, with the possible exception of North Korea, has access to various internet stuff.
Sure.
Has access to videos of what's happening around the world.
Yeah.
And eventually, I was reminded when the whole Kim Jong-il thing, I was reminded of Ayatollah Khomeini back in the 80s or early 90s or something like that. When he died,
Okay.
they acted like crazy people. People were stomped in the streets. They kept parading his body and his coffin around, and then people kept trying to touch it, and like suddenly everybody was dying because the crowds were just acted like insane people.
Yeah.
Then there was no security. They had to abort certain plans, and it was just madness.
Yeah.
But I think that now, I don't think that they'd want themselves to be embarrassed that way again.
No, there'd be some sort of controls in the lead up.
Oh yeah.
To it, so that wouldn't happen.
Well, and they see how other countries handle their shit, and they're like, oh,
right,
we probably need to be a little more like that.
Whereas North Korea, being so incredibly isolated,
right?
Yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah, the regime says you better be sad and cry, and boy, although they didn't even need to say that,
and they don't. Well, and they don't have any precedent.
Right.
The people of North Korea who haven't watched, what other countries do, because they're not allowed to see what other countries do.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're at a total loss. And then this man who they've been lied to their whole lives about what he's capable of, including that whole thing about being able to bowl 300 on his first time bowling.
I did.
Well, then you are worthy of the same kind of keening as Kim Jong-il when you die.
My funeral is going to be amazing. Amazing. But I hope I have better weather than he had. It was a snowstorm.
That is a shame.
Poor guy. Poor Kim Jong-il.
I think it'd be funny for my funeral. I have lots of ideas of like ways that I think it would be fun to have a funeral for me. But in the end, I don't care because I won't even be a sentient being anymore.
Right.
So
yeah.
so
It's more
to me,
just stuff to make you happy while you're leading up to your death.
Right. Yeah. But to me, it's almost as funny. It's just as good to me if everyone got together and had a hugely religious service for me. I think that would be hilarious.
It's what Dan wanted.
If everybody
it's
just
what
went
Dan
and
would
if
have
you,
wanted.
if you got as many priests and holy men as you could get and women, and just prayed the shit over me. Just fucking prayed like there's no tomorrow.
I want two religious groups who can't agree to have a fight over how they should be doing my funeral.
Over who saves your soul best?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to pray for us. Matter of fact, if you want to call our phone number, the 424-666-TGIA, and offer a prayer on our behalves.
Oh, please.
That would be great.
That would be nice.
That would
be
fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kim Jong-il's funeral. I just felt that we needed to talk about it because I know that there are people out there, see what atheists do? And this is the thing. I want to make it really clear that there's a big, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because I'm sure most of our listeners are atheists. But hopefully, who knows?
Well,
I would love to hear from one of the Christians if you're out there.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Or believer.
Yeah, we don't have believer.
But here's the deal. There's a big difference between the kind of atheism that you see in a totalitarian regime versus the kind of atheism that Dan and I are involved in. Because ours is based in secular humanism. It's based in, I mean, I don't know about you, but mine definitely is. It's based on a lot of the ideas from the Enlightenment, and we have inherited those ideas. And we have an understanding of goodness. We have a
different intellectual tradition that we're coming from.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't say that there's a difference between that atheism and our atheism. And the reason I wouldn't say that is because atheism isn't a belief. I have to keep going over this with people because they don't understand it.
Well, when it all boils down to is he didn't believe in God, ostensibly, and neither do we.
Right.
But there's a framework that there's a tradition. There's a cultural tradition that we are.
But the point that I'm trying to make is to lump Kim Jong-il in with you and I, based solely on our atheism, is the same thing as saying, well, you know, we can compare X and Y because both of them don't believe in astrology.
Right.
It's just a matter of
we can pick plenty of believers, plenty of Christians through the ages who did bad shit.
Right. Well,
so do we want to be like if you want, we can play that game too.
Play the who's worse, the atheists versus the Christians.
Right.
And by the way, Christians, you don't get to lump. We have to take Stalin. We have to take Kim Jong-il, but you don't get to throw Hitler at us because he was Christian.
He was. It was a major tenet of National Socialism.
Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is atheism is not a belief, and so if you're trying to, it's like saying that
there's no inherent worldview
these two
that
people
comes
are
along
connected
with it.
because they don't believe in something because it's like well, I don't believe in Thor either, so that means that I believe the same thing as everybody else who doesn't believe in Thor,
right?
No,
or have the same moral framework,
right. But no, I think you're right. That our ethos, our guidance system comes out of an intellectual tradition that's entirely other than what comes from. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. Anywho, hey, guess what else happened this week?
What's that, Dan?
Well, do you remember that it was Christmas this last week?
Yes, I do.
And you know what we did?
I remember.
Guess what we did? We went to church. We got a church review. Church review.
Yeah, and this is a fun one because what we decided to do with this go around, because we went very non-traditional with the first one. We did this little K2 thing.
Yeah, we went to
and it's a non-denominational thing, and which apparently just means boring.
Not always.
Not always. There's a lot of non-denominational that can be a lot of fun, but the one that we did before was boring. But what we did is we decided that we were going to do a Christmas Eve service.
Midnight mass type thing.
Yeah, because, we're looking for music. We're looking for entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And
well, the whole point of the church reviews is if you had to go to church for the rest of your life.
Which is which is going to keep you from falling asleep on Sunday.
Right. What's going to be the least painful option?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think your response was slightly different than mine on this.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where we went. We went to.
It was Cottonwood Presbyterian
Church in the Cottonwood Heights area of Salt Lake City.
It's called Cottonwood Presbyterian.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just sort of. Yeah. Oh, you had said that, and then I was expounding on it.
Okay. Right. I'm like, no, Dan, it has a name.
Yes. And we went to their 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Mass. I guess it ends when Jesus is born. Or something.
They do theirs like an hour early.
Yeah. They're always trying to beat the Catholics at their own game. I don't know. It's funny because I'm still a little confused about what
Presbyterianism is.
Yeah, like why is it any different than other Protestant? It all just seems
as
so
far
arbitrary.
As those traditional Protestant faiths go, the ones that have like early offshoots
Right.
from each other and from Catholicism. They have a lot of similarities. They'll have something different about their ministers.
Right. Presbyterians don't tend to have bishops.
Yeah, they don't have bishops, but there's a dude in like robes
Yeah.
up at the front who obviously has some level of training.
Well, no, they have reverends. They don't have bishops. Bishop meaning they don't have a centralized organization.
Exactly. Right.
Anyway, so we decided to go. The point of this is because we're not talking about theology here.
Oh shit, we broke our own rule.
Well, but the point is they all believe the same shit anyway.
Right.
So,
okay.
But
the show. How was the show, Dan?
Well, it started off pretty strong. They had hired in, I believe, a string quartet.
After you said that, I believe you're right. The talent level did not match anything else.
No, the string quartet was fantastic. Really nice string quartet. And then in come the blue-robed choir singing along with the string quartet.
Yes.
Choir was significantly weaker.
Oh, yeah, they should have hired in a choir.
Well, they should have. But it was just a choir of lay people from the congregation.
About 14 of them.
Mm-hmm. Mostly women.
Mostly women, yeah.
Their men's section was a little on the weak side.
Yeah.
Including one of the women was singing tenor. The one who looked most like B. Arthur was singing tenor.
That's a fun coincidence.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think if you're a B. Arthur looking woman, you're probably capable of some low notes. That's all I'm going to say. Did you ever see the Star Wars holiday special where B. Arthur sang?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I don't recommend seeing it, folks. Do not go out. That's a terminally boring piece of thing. It's just an interesting. Anyway, so yeah, the choir sang. They weren't great. I was hoping. Here's what I was hopeful for, because the way the review that we read leading into this, which was just a posting of what was going to be happening, was it looked like there was going to be a lot of music,
right?
And it looked like there was going to be, and it's a professional reverend.
Yes,
and that means something to me.
Yeah,
because in general, you're going to get a better sermon out of that than some layperson in the Mormon Church who.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah, this guy was bad.
This could have been a bishop from the Mormon Church.
This could have been just some schmo from the Mormon Church who didn't know anything. Yeah. This guy was bad.
Yeah.
He looked a little... I claim Charles Durning. Frank thinks he looks more like... what's his name from WKRP?
Oh, Gordon Jump from WKRP in Cincinnati. Yeah. That's a reference that's pretty obscure.
Yeah, we're going back. But anyway... He looked like your grumpy uncle.
Uh-huh. Very grumpy uncle.
Who, like, he gets up there, he starts to talk, and it's just like, you're instantly turned off. There's nothing spiritual happening with this guy. There's nothing connected to anything that's meaningful. It's just like, I'm going to tell you the story of the Christ. Let me read you a scripture.
It wasn't that bad.
No, but it was not
that bad.
So he reads the scripture, and then there's another guy whose job it is to just read scripture.
I guess so.
And he got up there, and he was bad.
Yeah, he had a hard time reading.
And he was like, I wish I had had the balls to take out my iPhone and audio record some of his shit.
Do you know why I probably felt so at home? It was because it was all so bad. Because Mormon services are so bad. I totally connected with this whole thing.
Oh Lord, no. See, I'm a theater guy. I can't take it. So they kept cutting back and forth between these guys reading their scripture and their dry ass bad reading of scripture. And all the scripture that we've heard before, well, actually they did a nice thing. They started in Old Testament prophecy and then moved into New Testament retelling of the actual story.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was I haven't seen that very much.
I haven't either. And when I first opened the program and I saw like Isaiah and Micah, and I was just like, wow, Micah. Like, not a lot of people quote from Micah, but you go, girl. But I was like, wow, that's really strange. Old Testament. This is like Christmas.
Yeah. So
But
I thought that was
then
interesting,
it was
an
a nice
interesting
choice.
progression.
I thought it was a nice choice.
Oh, by the way, we should talk about the set a little bit.
Oh, the set.
It's a decent sanctuary. It's not it. You know, they had a big cross back behind the altar.
Big cross.
there,
I looked at the cross a lot.
and the cross had a
was
wreath on
nice.
it. All of the crosses had wreaths on it on them.
Yeah.
And then there was garlands sort of strung about.
Yeah.
Little
There was a Christmas tree.
little nativity as
Well,
well.
nativity. The nativity was nice.
So that I mean, yeah, I don't know. That was
I like
fine.
a Christmas tree in the
Pews.
sanctuary, I have to say.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's
the Mormon church used to do that, but they don't anymore.
Oh,
Do you remember when you were a kid, there would be a tree in the chapel?
I have no memory of that.
Really?
It may well have happened. I just don't
Yeah,
remember.
they don't do it anymore.
No,
Anyways,
because foliage is of the devil.
they'll do some poinsettias.
That's true. They will.
Yeah.
What I just said is not true. They don't believe that.
That's not a verse from the Book of Mormon.
We should just start spreading lies about Mormonism.
I don't think we'd be doing anybody any service
No,
if we did that.
we would be serving my own sense of humor.
Right? No, we're not going to spread lies about.
No,
the
okay.
Mormons.
So anyway, they started with a little lighting of Advent candles in the middle.
Yeah.
That was actually among sort of between the two sets of pews. They had Advent things.
Well, yeah, one was the Christ candle, as we found out later,
Right.
in the service.
And then they lit the candles and said a thing. That was congregation members lighting the candles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a family.
I don't know. The whole thing was just they clearly had a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And they were holding to the tradition of the place. But man, the execution was just they sucked all the joy out of that thing.
We're gonna have to hit another Presbyterian service at some point. I'm sure we will at some point.
Yeah, but this was a Christmas one.
Right. We'll need to hit an actual Presbyterian service.
Yeah.
To really find out what they're like. But if this is an example of what Presbyterianism has to offer, I understand why I haven't met a lot of Presbyterians in my life.
Oh, I have to
Like,
think this is a
it's-
low point for
Do
Presbyterianism.
you really think so?
Yeah, because
This was a special night, and like you say, this guy was trained. This
guy.
I mean, it might actually be hard to get clergy in to Utah for some of these more
might
sort of
be,
traditional
yeah.
Protestant.
yeah, this might be
groups.
the sort of the drain point.
Yeah.
Like this might be where the shitty Presbyterian ministers go when
Yeah.
when you're being punished for not being a great Presbyterian minister in Chicago. They send you to Salt Lake or something. But I gotta say, I think the low point of the evening. Now there were some nice songs, and we got to sing along too.
Sing along. I love that.
And that was fun. And you know the choir did their best, and the choir leader was an old guy who
he took it very seriously.
he took it too seriously. Everything was
For
a little
the talent level.
Everything was a little slower than it should have been to try
Everything was slow.
because
It was killing me. At a
right
certain point.
because they were trying to be reverent and create a mood, but it was clearly the wrong
That's
thing.
not what you.
It was a bad choice. Anyway, everything was too slow, and then, I think the crowning moment of the evening, which is meant to be the crowning moment, was the lighting of the candles.
The congregation.
Yeah, we all were given candles as we walked in, and then we were all meant to. And then on the last song, which was Silent Night, we were to light the candles, and apparently proceed out of the sanctuary as we're singing.
Right.
An event that I can see created well could be a stirring, moving moment. However,
Yeah.
there are
Candles in church are new to me.
Oh, okay. I've had candlelight services before.
Okay. That was new to me.
Yeah, and it can be really lovely. Actually, it can be beautiful. But there are ways to ruin it. And, they found every single one of them. It was actually probably the most entertaining part of the night for me, which was when our pastor,
Our Mormon bishop,
gave us literally a 3-minute lecture on candle safety and how we're supposed to light and how we're supposed to not light. And
right.
because, he lights his candle, then he lights the candles at the end of each pew.
Well, he lights the deacons' candles, and then the deacons go.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And they go and they light the candles. And basically you do have to be a little bit careful because everybody's lighting their candle off of everybody else's candle. And there's potential for bad things to happen there.
Yeah.
this guy goes into it forever about, oh, you got to do it this way, and it's very important, and blah, blah, blah. And
I'm thinking that they had an incident.
Maybe.
I think, or at least there's some notorious incident that he read about of somebody, some old woman with her hair going up in flames or something. Like,
I'm thinking it was so much tamer than that. There was wax that dripped on the pews, and they had to scratch it at it for a while to get it up. This guy is such a mountain out of a molehill kind of guy. Anyway, so he goes and he's telling us, the person whose candle is lit keeps it straight up and down like this, and he's demonstrating. It's it's
His
so
props.
awful. And then he's like, and then the person who's lighting their candle, they tilt it like this and hold it against the upright candle that is lit, and then that person holds it upright. And once your candle's lit, you always keep it upright. And then the next person tips their candle to your candle. And honestly, it went on forever.
Yeah, it was
forever. And then, what he didn't explain to us is that we were all going to be leaving during that song.
Yeah, I think that was impromptu. Because he did say.
You do?
Yes, I think people misunderstood his directions because they already tuned him out. Because what I remembered hearing was that we were going to sing and then leave.
Okay, that's what I remember hearing as well.
Now maybe to a group of Presbyterians, because they've done this enough, they know the tradition, they know that means in the third verse you start to leave.
Oh my God.
But I was like, Okay. I can sing Silent Night from memory, first verse.
Right.
I need that hymnal for the third verse.
Right, absolutely. Not only that, but here's the other way that he ruined the candle ceremony. He was like, now, we were going to have you stand up for this, but I thought that, it's easier to read the hymnal if it's in your lap when you're holding a candle. So, we're going to have you sit down for the first 2 verses and then stand up for the third verse. Which is like, again, none of us know the third verse. That's the worst idea ever. Also, like, the whole point of the candle service is like, they turn off the lights and then all you see is the glow of everybody else's candle. Mm-hmm. But if we're all sitting, you don't see anybody's candle. You just see sort of a glow, but you don't see the flicker. You don't see the actual flame, which is the joy of the candle service.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't hear the candle. We don't see the candles at all until everybody stands up, and by then suddenly we were sitting in the second pew, and then suddenly we're there, and we're adjusting mics here. Sorry. So we're there in the second pew, and suddenly the first pew starts emptying, and I'm like, "Holy shit, we're supposed to go!" And we didn't have our shit together. We didn't have our coats on. We didn't have everything ready to go.
No.
So it's like, oh crap, we're holding fire in one hand,
right,
and grabbing everything else, and like it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Bach.
Yeah,
it's absurd. Well, Dan.
Yeah. So
Merry
there you
Christmas.
have it. There you have it.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
A Happy New Year to all of y'all, and may your resolutions be, whatever.
And that's our show. If you'd like to join our conversation,
you can leave a voicemail at 424-666-TGIA. That's 424-666-8442.
Follow us on Twitter at TGI Atheist.
Or send us an email at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. You'll be glad you did.